Greetings, this is Charles Darwin, and the message I have for you today is that bacteria rule the world. Now, back when I was alive, we didn't know a whole lot about bacteria. Most of the work of Pasteur and Koch was done after I died, and so, of course, I knew what bacteria were, but I had no idea how pervasive they were through the entire Earth. And so I've learned about that since that time, and I'm going to tell you about it today. Now, some of what I talk about, actually all of it, is found in reference works such as here's the Encyclopedia of Evolution, and the first article under letter B is about bacteria. Okay, another place that you can find it is in the Encyclopedia of Biodiversity. And it's also the first article under the letter B. It's just that this happens to be a fancier book in full color, and this time the B is surrounded by, I can't tell what those are. Are they supposed to be electrons? They look sort of like sperm, but anyway. Hey, this is written by the same guy, Stanley A. Rice, and it's the same article. He got paid twice for writing that. Well, I assume it was legal when he did that. Anyway, the average Earthling is a bacterium. And I'm going to give you evidence for that right now. First, let's consider the number of individuals. Bacteria on Earth vastly, vastly, vastly outnumber the number of eukaryotes, which includes what we call higher organisms, the complex cells and multicellular organisms. And let's take, just for instance, your own body. Your body, we've always taught in science classrooms, your body has 10 times as many bacteria as it has of your own eukaryotic cells. Now, this number has been called into question, but it's still somewhere between 2 and 10. So, if you have 70 trillion cells, that means that you may have as many as 150 trillion bacteria. And those are separate individual bacteria, and there's just one of you. So if this is true of every animal, plant, and fungus in the world, then you can see that for every one of the multicellular organisms, there's trillions of bacteria. They've got us completely outnumbered. So there are more bacteria than anything else. And that's one way in which the average Earthling is a bacterium. The other way is in the number of species. Now, bacteria all look pretty much alike. Some of them are rod-shaped, some of them are spherical, some of them are spiral-shaped, not many of them. But they look like they're pretty much all the same, but they have incredible diversity in their DNA structure and also in their metabolism, the sorts of metabolism that they have. Now, higher organisms, so-called, like plants, have photosynthesis, and plants and animals have cellular respiration, and then there's other kinds of metabolism, such as DNA synthesis and everything. Well, bacteria have all of those. And in addition, they can do lots of kinds of metabolism that no complex organism can imagine doing. And so, in terms of the diversity of DNA, the diversity of metabolism, bacteria are extremely diverse, more so than the eukaryotic and multicellular organisms. Okay, another way is the 3 branches of life that we teach about today: bacteria, archaea, and the eukaryota. And the complex cells and complex organisms made from them are the eukaryota. The other 2 are very different from one another. Archaea are as different from bacteria as they are from you. And yet we lump them all into this pile known as bacteria, and then don't think about them anymore. And so, but yet, not just diversity, but very basic diversity back to the beginning of life on Earth 3.5 billion years ago. Which brings me to my 4th point. For 80% of Earth history, what we call the Precambrian, which means it was before the Cambrian, and during all that time, 80% of Earth history, there was nothing more complex than bacteria, or at least very little. And so another thing is that when we consider the structures, this is number 5 right here, when we consider the structures of complex cells, many of those structures are the evolutionary descendants of bacteria. This is the idea that Len Margulis has presented to us, and it's now universally accepted among biologists. And so cells of eukaryotes have mitochondria and bacteria. Sorry, mitochondria and chloroplasts, but they used to be bacteria. And so even in that way, a lot of the diversity of complex organisms is based on internalized bacteria. Well, of course, we don't usually notice bacteria unless they cause body odor, or they are responsible for some of the flavor and smell of cheese, especially the very ripe cheeses from France. And the French are proud of their cheeses. They're even proud of some of the ones that smell like diapers. And so, here, try this. Aren't you glad that video cannot convey scent? Anyway, bacteria win the sweepstakes in all possible ways, that there are more of them, and there are more kinds of them, and that has always been the case on Earth. This is Charles Darwin. Tally ho, and amen.